Now the general elections are over, we must not forget the victims and families of those who died or were injured in the terrible terrorism atrocities in London and Manchester. Nor should we ignore the immediate dangers to the security and safety of everyone who lives, works, and travels within the United Kingdom. We were told that there are 3,000 active extremists out there, 500 plots being investigated, 800 people may have returned from fighting in Syria, and as many as 23,000 people are known and to be of interest to the UK security authorities. Further, in the aftermath of the recent incidents, we are seeing a five-fold increase in hate crime and Islamophobia, bringing with it an environment of fear, intolerance, and vulnerability. Safety and security being at the heart of our communities should not necessarily be a political, racial, or religious issue. It is in everyday terms essentially a neutral issue, as regardless of a person's background, age, race, or religion, everyone wants to feel safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods, at work, and when they travel or engage in daily cultural or social activities. It therefore follows on the country's government and various state security bodies have a specific duty to protect our communities and those who are vulnerable, and also prevent further attacks. At the same time, every member of the community has a shared responsibility actively to work with those brave people concerned with protecting us at the heart of our neighborhoods, towns, cities, and the country. Failure to do this will increase fear, suspicion, hate, and lead to substantial negative impact on community harmony and cohesion. If we don't take immediate actions, there are greater and far more reaching implications for all of us, where we could see public disorder on our streets, or fearful, talented people leaving the country, and of the communities further separating from each other, leading to suspicion and ghettoization of different communities. Fearing all of this, in the aftermath of the Manchester incident, I wrote a very personal piece for the UK Daily Mail, saying that urgent action needs to be taken with regard to those people identified as potential suspects and of interest by the security agencies. I advocated setting up in the UK of regional community-based centres where selected people would be debriefed, risk assessed, and theologically examined, and those who require made to go through a de-radicalisation program using the expertise of Muslim scholars, charity workers, and counter-terrorism prevent officers. I also recommended that those who pose the greatest and immediate dangers should be locked up and, if necessary, interned indefinitely and even deported. My real rationale for suggesting the course of action so publicly was for several reasons. First, the numbers involved as suspects are so huge that ordinary surveillance, monitoring, and electronic tagging would not work simply because there are not enough official resources within our security agencies to deal with all these people immediately. Second, the trend within the terrorist incidents is directly related to a new global phenomenon that radically theologizes and politicizes version of Islam towards not accepting local norms and values, but violently imposing those espoused by known global terrorist organizations. Vulnerable individuals are often targeted, groomed, and used to commit the atrocities often learned through the World Wide Web and the social media platforms. I believe This is taking place every hour of the day at the heart of our communities, thereby potentially posing immediate danger to all of us. Third, nobody knows what is the tipping point from holding extremist views and then someone going out to commit a random, no notice, indiscriminate attack against innocent people. In the circumstances, we need new and brave solutions to deal with the here and now threat and ensure safety and security of all our communities. I suggest a series of actions that can be taken immediately by the UK government. First, a local community protection register should be set up for each police area containing the names of the persons who pose a danger and are actively to create harm. The names of these people are already known to the security agencies. Second, emergency legislation should be brought in by the new government to issue community protection orders compelling individuals to attend dedicated regional community protection centres for risk analysis by experts, theological debriefing by Islamic scholars, and psychological assessments by specialists. Third, de-radicalisation orders and action plans will be drawn up for each individual, and those who are considered to continue to pose significant danger to the society will be detained for indefinite periods. The ideas I'm putting forward are similar to those currently in place to address issues with football hooliganism, sex offenders, high-risk re-offenders, and people suffering with severe mental health, and are all aimed at ensuring a safe society policy. Further, in the spirits of shared responsibility, especially involving the Muslim communities, of which I am one, we have to take action to root out the extremists amongst the Muslim communities. Mainstream national Muslim organizations should work towards setting up a collective national organization that regulates religious practices, spreads moderate values, and combats extremism and radicalization through supporting the setting up of the community protection centers across the United Kingdom. In order for the proposed community protection centers to be developed, I would like leading Muslim imams and mainstream organizations to issue a collective fatwa, first condemning terrorist atrocities like the ones in Manchester and London, and secondly giving religious backing to the setting up of these new centers for the good of society. If the Muslim leaders and their organizations give their support, the community protection centers would have religious legitimacy that they need and will not be seen as a tool of the state. It will show that Muslim leaders in this country are doing something to make this country safe and are not just delivering words. It would make us all more accountable. In the aftermath of my suggestions going public, I witnessed an intense media debate regarding my proposals on radio, TV, and the social media. Rather not surprising to me, I was challenged by some notable people, including Majid Nawaz, an ex-extremist who almost accused me of setting up Muslim concentration camps. Establishment figures such as Lord Blair, Lord West, and Lord Carlisle, who felt the ideas would not work under current system, create anger amongst communities and would be globally seen as reputationally divisive. I could hear certain groups and civil liberties organizations oppose the centers on the basis as being oppressive or against the values of free society, whose rights are more important, it seems, than those of innocent victims and their families. However, the vast majority of the ordinary British public, including many members of the Muslim communities, were willing to give my ideas wider possible consideration and accepted that this new phenomenon, which we are all facing, needed new solutions. Also, it is interesting, in the aftermath of the London Borough market attacks, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, said, "Enough is enough," and suggested the bringing in of tough new terrorism laws and the abolishment of some aspects of the human rights laws. As a further solution, I suggest the government should review and overhaul the entire asylum system in the United Kingdom. In the 1980s and 1990s, hundreds of asylum seekers came in from conflict countries claiming they were fleeing persecution. The authorities had no way of seeing if they were genuine or people simply trying to get into the United Kingdom. This was because of lack of quality information and data. It was virtually impossible to check these people's backgrounds properly. The case of Manchester attacker Salman Abedi is an example. He too was the son of an asylum seeker who never integrated, and he went on to commit his vile and barbaric act. I think extremist asylum seekers that are in this country need to be re-vetted, and if they are deemed a threat to the national security, they should be kicked out of the country as soon as possible. But within the current legal system, these Islamist asylum seekers could play the system. Think of the Jordanian hate cleric Abu Qatada, who fought his removal from this country for over 16 years through the domestic law courts and the European Courts of Human Rights. He cost the taxpayers millions of pounds in his bid to stay in Britain, despite being called Osama bin Laden's ambassador in the West. Further opportunities exist now with Brexit. I think we have a golden opportunity to overhaul the whole asylum system so that individuals can be speedily processed and, where necessary, if not suitable, deported. We must have more stringent tests for individuals trying to come in using the asylum system. I would strongly suggest that the Home Office should urgently set up a dedicated cold case review team to re-examine all asylum seekers and their personal circumstances. However, the danger is now. It is enduring, and action needs to be taken now to deal with new realities and what is fast becoming a national emergency. I strongly feel that time has come to bring about immediate action, thought leadership, and community collectivism in order to make our society safer.